What is up, everybody? We are going to be in a new game today for the series. So, we are still doing history through video games. Today, we are exploring revolutionary France in Assassin's Creed Unity. I am very partial to this franchise. It is one of the best franchises for video games, in my opinion. I have played through every single game that I can with this. Believe I own most of their library, so I will try to get into this game series as much as I possibly can within this video series. So today we are going to be looking at the potentially most famous church in all of history, the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, France. This is modeled very well in this game. If recent uh, recent world news has kind of brought to our attention in 2019 when the cathedral actually caught fire. Ubisoft, the developer of this game, came forward and said, "Hey, we took a bunch of laser scans during the development for Assassin's Creed, provided those back to the restoration efforts." So, the fact that they tried to laser scan as much as they could for the cathedral, make a very true to life representation within the game. Uh, it it just kind of shows how in depth they went with their research to make this as true to life as possible. So, just kind of running around the game right now and just kind of sticking with Notre Dame itself. I'm on top of one of the bell towers right now, climbing up onto this rail. And you can see it is a very large cathedral. It is a very Gothic cathedral as far as its construction type. So it's going to have these two large bell towers. If you've seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know that Quasimodo lives up in one of these two, hangs out with all of his gargoyle friends. But as far as the gargoyles, they are all over the place. They helped with the rain, pushing that rainwater away from the building and getting it to not just run down the sides of it. But it was extremely adorned with, and still is, extremely adorned with stonework all over the place. And just looking from one bell tower to the other, you can see just how much detail went into the decoration of this building. Now, going further down here, you can see there's still more gargoyles, more decoration. We'll walk the roof here. This was actually a lead-lined roof, which was extremely common for a lot of Gothic architecture. It just was a protective metal that they were able to shape to what they needed, and it was available enough in the quantities that they needed to be able to roof large buildings and important buildings. So that's the material that they chose for roofing frequently through these buildings. Now we are set in the French Revolution, so late 1700s. What I found interesting through my research for this is that, and you can see this. I'll hop in into the cathedral here in just a second, but the the people of the French Revolution actually were defacing a lot of Notre Dame. They did not care for trying to preserve any amount of history within it or look to essentially protect it in any way. They saw that there were several different statues of kings that were in the church, and they believed them to be kings of France, so they decapitated them. They were really the kings of Judah in biblical history. So the fact that the French people were just looking to cause destruction in any way that they could, the church really didn't escape unscathed by any amount from that. All right, so starting out front of the cathedral here, we can walk through the main portion, the main entrance through the cathedral. So some quick history, some keynotes for Notre Dame. It was originally built in 1163. It took nearly 200 years for the original structure of the church to be built. So 1163 to 1345 is when the actual cathedral itself was completed. So it's an extremely tall, open interior, very common for Gothic cathedrals. I've never actually been to Notre Dame, but I have been to a few others in the UK. So York Minster, the Glasgow Cathedral. I'll throw those photos up. They're actually pretty similar um, within the cathedrals, and I wish that we could kind of get some exploration done there too. York Minster is going to be about the only one we can kind of get close to with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but it was not the Gothic cathedral that is in existence today. So there are some theories ongoing with Notre Dame that it was built on top of an old Roman temple to Jupiter. There's evidence that was found for that. We're just gonna ignore those guys as we walk through here. But there's a lot of history where churches from Christianity were built on top of old, uh, either mythological temples or just other holy sites from other societies. They would build on top of those structures, since they would just kind of repurpose that holy site. So the Notre Dame Cathedral, especially in this time period, like I said, was being used by the revolutionaries. The game did a great job modeling that. You got goats, you got chickens, you got, I believe, dead bodies or sleeping people. But it was just kind of used as a catch-all kind of building. Um, with my notes here, the in 1790, let me get my dates straight there. So 1790, the Paris Commune removed all of the bronze, lead, and other precious metals from the cathedral to be melted down. They needed that metal for other purposes, and they figured the cathedral didn't need them anymore at that point. So they took all the metal out, melted it down. In 1793, the cathedral was then converted to a temple of reason. So more going with their intellectual side of it versus the spiritual side of it, but then also to a temple of the supreme being, which was kind of a cult that was going on during this time frame. And there's a few other instances throughout this game that you kind of run into that with different riddles and things to solve within the game itself. The the game then kind of has you running around. You do a few missions through Notre Dame, but you can explore a bunch of other churches and cathedrals within Assassin's Creed Unity in the French area. I'm going to try to touch on a few other world famous churches. So we'd be looking at the Hagia Sophia from Assassin's Creed Revolutions. Or Revelations, not Revolutions. There's a lot of revolutions that happen in Assassin's Creed. That one's Revelations. Assassin's Creed 2 actually has several different churches that we can look at. There's ones in Venice and in Florence. So we're going to look at those. In the American Revolution, we can actually look at a few different churches that play major roles in the American Revolution. So Assassin's Creed 3 will allow us to explore that. And then the original Assassin's Creed, we can see different churches that were existing in the Holy Lands during the Third Crusade. So this is going to be kind of a little bit of a tempo shift for us, going more towards some older world history than just the Second World War, like my first few videos. So we're going to explore this, see if there's more things to explore within Assassin's Creed that isn't really touched within the series. There are definitely some notes that the game will give you about these different buildings, different important political sites, different palaces, castles. But there's many structures that still exist within the games that they don't give keynotes for, and just kind of give you a cliff note version of the structure that you're walking by, or the different streets that you walk on. So we'll dive into a few of these historic buildings, historic time periods, and see what we can find in a very well-known video game series, one that is extremely popular. The older editions within this series are fairly cost effective for anyone wanting to explore these old civilizations and structures. So join me on this adventure. We're gonna keep plugging away and see what we can find. So I'll see you guys next time, and let me know what you think. Give me a comment, drop a like on the video, or subscribe if you want to. And we'll catch you guys later.